Damn, Ingenious made the beat? Happy New Year, Coach Life fam. Welcome back to another episode of the Coach Life Podcast Radio. I am, of course, your host, the Prince of Positivity, Coach Steve. Join with me, as always, my PIC, my partner in crime, the dime dropper, Coach Luna. How we doing, Brody?
Blessed, man. Like I said earlier, that bum bum. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't
No,
just minus
sir.
the Diddy.
Minus
the Diddy.
right.
part.
Minus the Diddy part.
No Diddy. But nah, man, I'm blessed, man. Coach Life Podcast fam, it's been a little minute. Not by like on accident or anything. We just needed a little bit of time to decompress a little bit, get our thoughts back together to go ahead and bring you some new and fresh content that's going to go ahead and hit you the way it needs to hit you.
In the fields. It's going to hit you in the fields.
Absolutely.
CEO, founder of the Coach Life Podcast and brand about building your brand. Coach Wash, how we doing, Brody?
Blessed and refreshed. Ready to get a lot of stuff off our chest.
Man, bars already for the new year.
Hey, and the intro.
Intro bars.
Early.
Intro bars. Yikes.
Yo, everybody has some time to live. As we said on a previous pod, you need CE, continuous experiences. Yeah, and we got to live. We have to have our time with God. We got to make sure we being fed and delivering what is His word, His knowledge, His wisdom. So we ready to go.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready into the new year.
This again, man. I'm excited to be back. First and foremost, this has been, I think, we took almost 3 weeks off.
Longer.
Yeah, it's been a little minute.
Sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. We apologize.
You know what? Before that, it was around Thanksgiving because I hadn't moved in yet.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, we took
5 weeks.
Yeah, about a month off for you guys right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I have a couple people that have been asking. I know Coach Luna's had a couple people that have been asking. Coach Walsh has had a couple people that's been asking, like, when are you guys dropping another pod? Surprise, surprise. We back again. Hit you right in the mouth with another good one right now. So what are we talking about today? I know last year around this time we had a conversation centered around goal setting, centered around, your New Year's resolution, right?
Yeah.
I had to ask the question. It's been a whole year now. How many of us have stuck true to those resolutions? Now, this is not one of those situations to be like, we did it, you didn't. Again, that's neither here nor there. But there's a lot of us that decided to flake out. So much so, I learned something new. Coach Luna actually sent this over in our chat. I learned something new. There's a National Losers Day?
Oh, no, International Quitters Day.
Oh, I'm sorry. International Quitters Day. I didn't even know that was a thing.
And that's actually right upon us in about 48 hours.
Fantastic. Look at that. So this podcast is like perfect timing right now. And we all about timing. I'm pretty sure most of us understand. I'm pretty sure, first and foremost, most of us have one of these, right? Most of us have a cell phone. And when we have our cell phone and we take a ton of pictures, we have a ton of contacts, we have a ton of apps, we got a ton of a whole bunch of stuff just sitting on our phone. I literally got a chance over this break to kind of go through my phone a little bit and was looking at some pictures, some older pictures and everything. And I was like, man, I didn't even know that I still had some of these pictures right now. Just didn't even know I had some of this stuff. It's something to be said about doing a reset. Something to be said about starting over. And that is the premise of our pod today. not necessarily a New Year's resolution per se, but more so a factory reset. And this doesn't have to be just in January, right? We can do this at any point in time. But today we're going to talk about some of those nuances when it comes to factory resetting. What does that mean as a person? What does that mean spiritually, mentally, and physically? For a lot of us, we don't know how to factory reset. A lot of us don't want a factory reset because that may come with some challenges that we are not necessarily willing to give up.
How'd that work out for you in 2024?
Man, so much so that there's a National Quitters Day. I'm going to keep throwing that out there because I did not know that was a thing. And I am so disappointed that we are celebrating something like that. But I digress.
I don't know if it's celebrated. It's more of a statistic, and that like people that study like human behavior, it's more of a day that they have declared that based off data, that is usually when most people quit. So it's not a like, oh, it's International Quitters Day. It's like, no, based off of how long people can sustain their New Year's resolutions, they typically drop off by this Friday.
This coming Friday.
The second Friday after New Year's.
365 days a year. That's equivalent to like, that's actually worse than quitting after the first practice of 2 days in football camp. You didn't even make it the first practice.
Correct. Yes. That's very much equal to that. So the part of that, because just like you were saying about the factory reset, let's dive in and talk about that just a little bit more. So a factory reset, and then let's keep it in electronics so that way we can all have a general understanding of what happens. So when we do a factory reset, whether it's on a phone or whether it's even on a Wi-Fi adapter, just for an easy example, sometimes you need to do a hard reset, factory reset. And what does that do? It puts it back into its original settings. I want us to marinate on that, the original settings. Why is that important? Because what ends up happening majority of the time, we end up putting too much stuff within the hard drive of our technologies, or too much data, too much stuff that's cluttering up the performance of the technology. So therefore, it has to wipe it. And sometimes what ends up happening with technology is you can't sit there and delete every single thing one by one. It's going to take entirely too long. So what they always recommend is, hey, just wipe that thing completely clean and go from zero. Now, like you said, Coach Steve, how do I apply that into my life? How do I apply that into my spiritual walk, my physical? It's very basic. You know what? And I told you it's been on my heart. I think that it's extremely important to have that ability to know that I can start over. And with this starting over, it can be as elementary as it needs to be for me to begin. I just need to begin. And every single moment from there is just a build off from the initial start off. So as long as like I said, it doesn't matter. It's so elementary. It's so simple, but yet it's so complex because human nature makes us store up too much data that we clutter ourselves with everything else that we can't see clearly what it means to be. We have gotten to the point, Coach, where being at home and doing the things that you're supposed to do is called a boring life. Going to the gym, waking up early, coming home, cooking your food, doing all that's
you don't do nothing.
You don't do nothing. That's a boring life. You're boring. That's crazy. Me having my life under control, me trying to, harvest and create the atmosphere for a family, and me trying to make myself the best man I can be within the roles that God has placed me in. I'm considered boring to the masses now, but I feel the best I've ever felt Why? Because I had to apply those general factory setting to myself. And each one of us have dove into certain areas in our lives that we had to go back into our factory settings and get back right.
Man, man. You know what, Coach? I want to let's lighten the tone right now because I feel like some people probably feeling a little convicted right now, which
It's
is
okay.
good. Which is good.
It's okay.
This is a good thing. This is a good thing.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. This is a good thing. But I want to give everybody this example, and I know that all the Coach Life men that are listening to this will understand what I'm saying. Have you ever heard of the term one trip Charlie?
I'm about to say, y'all probably got me, y'all elders.
Yeah.
Dang.
The audacity. The audacity.
Just confidence.
The audacity. Yes, I did just turn 40. I did just turn 40. So yes, I hit the 40 club. Not feeling any different. So I'm gonna take that as a win for 2025. I'm gonna take that as a win right now. I'll let you know how I feel in February though. Anyway, Coach Wash, do you know what a one trip Charlie is, or what usually is heard when someone says like, "Oh, he one trip Charlie"?
No, I've only heard it but never used it.
So,
I ain't hit 40 yet. So
oh wow. So this is a 40 thing now. Look at this. Stabs all around. So that being said, I'm pretty sure most of us gone to the grocery store, right? And you bag up all your groceries, you put all your groceries in your trunk or in the backseat of your car or whatever. When you're about to walk in the house, what do you usually try to do?
Get it all in one
Get all the
trip.
bags.
One trip Charlie.
That's a man's job.
I ain't know Charlie. I ain't know that was his name.
Yeah, that's his name, man. That's his
Yeah.
name. That's his name.
Okay.
So I mean,
All right.
he goes by many names. He goes by many names, but that's one of the few, one of the Chicago ones that I've learned to understand and grow up in. But usually you're gonna try to get every single one of them. Has there been a situation where you tried to grab all of those bags and there was still one bag left? And
Absolutely.
This was the bag that you kind of wanted to take into the house first, but you can't carry it because you're holding too much.
I mean, you could use the example of eggs. If you got all those bags and you carrying eggs in one of them, you're not doing that because you're gonna crack them eggs, and can't afford to do that.
Can't afford to do that, right? When I look at like factory reset, I heard something a while ago, and it said, I can't remember the preacher that said this. I wish I could give him credit. No, it wasn't Philip. Man, I really want to give him credit. But what I heard from the preacher was it's hard to grab something when your hands are full. And most of us are walking around, like Coach Luna said, with a handful of stuff, holding on to a lot of stuff. This factory reset gives you the opportunity to really put all that stuff down and really evaluate. Once you put everything down, like evaluate what is most important. What should I be picking up? What shouldn't I be picking up? Like what do I need to leave on the ground right now? What do I need to leave behind because it's not that important? What's that, Coach Wash?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything needs to be put down and completely surrendered to God. That's first and foremost. And that reset will get you back to the basics. And really the playbook you were supposed to be following the whole time before you start deviating and coming up with all this extra stuff on your own.
Facts.
Well, including the original designer of the playbook.
Facts. Let's ask a couple questions of why people may need to hit the reset button. They may feel overwhelmed. They may feel stuck in a situation. They may feel a loss in identity or direction. burnout. It may just get to a point where they just hit that brick wall and they're burnt out. Or they may feel spiritually or emotionally empty. There could be a number of other reasons why people are, experiencing that feeling. And we all know what I'm talking about right now. If you don't know, those times where you were sitting there and you didn't know what to do, where you're sitting there feeling like you needed to solve the problem, where you're sitting there feeling completely overwhelmed, like this is too much, like why am I getting all of this right now and I don't know how to handle this? There may be those moments right there where you probably need to hit a factory reset for yourself. Where you need to hit the reset button for yourself. And I'm gonna keep equating this back to, and I know I've probably said this now. I think I'm going on a total of now. This is like the fifth time I brought this up. Is the Nintendo. You only had one chance. Sorry. There's no save. Once you turn the game off, you gotta start this all over again. And if you didn't like it, guess what? Don't play the game. Coach Luna, when we talk about the reasons why people decide to hit the factory reset button, or some of those key signs, essentially, what do you see as probably the biggest key sign that somebody may need to hit the factory reset button for themselves?
New Year's resolutions. And the constant repeating of the same New Year's resolutions.
So the person that has the same New Year's resolution that they had in 24, that they had in 23, they had in 22, they had in 21, they had in 20, 19, 18. Just nothing's changing at this point.
This year is going to be the year.
Why is it different? Why is
you said
different?
That last year. You said that the year before. You said that because, Coach, we think we are our own saviors. We believe that we have the power to change everything. And in an essence, you are given power to change everything. Understand that you're given the power, but the source of the power is who you need to ultimately push you past the level and the threshold that you have never got past. And that is the part that I was failing to myself be able to comprehend when I would try to go ahead and go on these little stints of not drinking for myself. Like I was like, oh, I'm not going to go drink, but I'm going to drink a beer. Oh, I'm not going to drink hard alcohol. I'm going to drink wine instead. Or, I'm just using the drinking example for an example. And even when it came to working out, like, oh, my heart rate got high today, so that counted as a workout. I had to demonstrate a drill, so that counted as a workout. Like, nah, bro. You know what I'm saying? So we design minimums, and as long as those minimums are met, and I gave myself that feel like I did something, then, oh, okay, I'm good. And it's not to the point to where you start loving yourself and having a high standard for yourself, do things start to change. And I mean that by things starting to change, because the start to change has its own momentum and it only can get you so far. And then you need that extra push. And, the one thing that I've discovered the past 2 years of this journey for myself is in the journey of self-improvement is the discovery of self-love.
Man.
And within the self-love, you discover that there's a level of love that you've never been able to comprehend because you've never loved yourself like this. So as I continue to love myself like this, I start and I'm reading the Creator, I'm reading his text. It begins to do something in here that, oh, I know this is what this is love. This is what he means by, what he will do to me if I posture myself to be able to, hey man, give it to me. I never understood that. I always thought of it as something like in my brain, like, okay, here, take it. Please fix me. And I did not understand that does nothing. Everything is intentional. So as I'm working on myself, I'm telling God, like, hey, I'm trying to get to you. I'm working to get rid of these things and I need your help. And it's with that extension of the hand of, hey, I need your help, is when I've been waiting on you this whole time. My hand's been fully extended waiting on you.
Yep.
I just needed you to get here. I'll take care of the rest. I tell people this all the time. I actually was telling people this, when was that? This past Saturday, when I had dinner with Colin and all my friends or whatever. And I told them I've never in my years, as an adult, gotten to the point where I don't even crave the things that I used to crave. Never. And I said, that has nothing to do with just, Tom's got real discipline because he, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, bro. It is way deeper than that. And it's deeper than that because I understand now more of the relationship part and the continuous chase, or not really chase, but the continuous working towards than I did ever before. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a giant difference in that because I'm not leaning on myself to try to do it anymore. Like, it's gone. And it's a miracle because I literally kept having mental battles with this idea and like, how is this possible? How can I fully give this away? Like, I keep having this craving. Or I keep having, like, I still feel like I
have to do it. I have to be here.
Right. And now when he says fully surrender, he means that. And I didn't understand what that meant because majority of us haven't postured our hearts for the meaning and understanding of what true faith is. And the more you understand what faith is, and the more you dive into the word, it's like it softens you up to be able to be like, hey, this is what I meant. Here you go. Absolutely. Now you're working. Now we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Now your settings are getting back right so you can perform at the optimal level.
Yeah,
I love that. Go ahead, Coach.
Now
I got a question for you, by the way.
What I just gathered from all of that, I think a key thing, and even with the statistic you were just talking about, it's a lack of patience, and with faith comes patience. Because if you trust and believe who you're receiving from, you'll wait.
Man.
You'll wait. Man. If you truly trust and believe and love who you're receiving from, you'll wait.
Coach, I want to expound on that a little bit because I want to take it to a childlike innocence. Because you said something very very, 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 very key right now, and what we're talking about right now. You made the comment of, if you know where the gift is coming from, you're willing to wait. We just celebrated Christmas, did we not? There's plenty of kids that are willing to wait the whole year to get that Christmas present from Santa.
And even then, Christmas coming, I gotta start acting right. Mom, do you want me to do some dishes? Would you like me to go ahead and Pops, you need me to go ahead and help you on something?
I heard something so profound when it came to Santa, and I'm definitely gonna butcher it because I don't remember all the pieces of it. But I do remember it said that it was a guy and his son had asked him, like, is Santa real? Like, you can be honest with me, Dad. Just tell me the truth. Like, Santa real? And he was like, you want the truth? Are you sure? And he was like, yeah, Dad, I want the truth. I want you to tell me the truth. Like, is Santa actually real? And he said, so yes, Santa is real. And he was like, are you serious? Like, Santa's real? He was like, yeah, he is real. He was like, but not the way that you think about him. The idea of Santa is what's real. It's like, obviously, those presents under the tree are from, from people that care about who they're giving it to. So that idea and that joy that you see on children's faces, like, that's the spirit that you need to maintain. And now that you know the truth, it's your job now to pass that along and give that same joy to other kids. Now that you know. And it was like, it was so profound in saying it that way, as opposed to just saying, like, no, that's me. I'm the one giving you all of that, right? It was a sense of gratitude. It was a sense of wanting to display joy. It was a sense of faith, right? Because I got to have faith in my son to tell him that information and hope that he don't go ruin it for his sister or his brother or something like that, right? So there's a level of faith there, that childlike innocence. So Coach Washington, you made the comment of, like, you have to want to have that faith. Like, that's the first thing that popped in my head, was like how kids have that unwavering faith toward something that pure, right? Now, again, we can get into all the, don't kill me in the comments talking about Santa's not pure and all the stuff like that. We don't, I get it. We understand that. The point of the story is right. Like, the point of the story is, again, is to display that feeling of joy, is to give that level of joy to children. Right. So it just made me think about it. That's all. I just wanted to make sure we touched on that. But I do have a question for you to kind of follow up on one of the things that Coach Luna said. Not just steps in hitting, and steps in I guess hitting the reset button, but the challenges on how to overcome hitting the reset button, essentially. One of them is that I've always heard, and I'm pretty sure all of us have heard this, is that's that fear of starting over. How do you get someone past that fear of starting over? Yes, we can say it's the first step, right? It's just doing, but then how do you build that momentum? Coach Luna?
I'm gonna quote Ali: "A man that looks at life the same when he's the age 50, the same way he did when he was 25 years old, has lost 25 years of his life." And you should have more fear of continuing to be the same exact person that's going through the exact same things with different people or different jobs or whatever the case may be. You should be more fearful of that than anything, because what's happening right there is God is putting you in these situations so that you can learn the things that you've been actually praying for, but you lack the humility to understand that this is your test, and you will not and you will not see the other side. You won't see the door that you're hoping for, because God ain't gonna let you go through that door, because the version of you that's supposed to go through that door ain't there yet. Right. And until you can realize, like, man, I was praying for this and it was met with a challenge, and you failed at the opportunity to be able to work on that certain characteristic that you've been praying for. Mm-hmm. And until you realize those things, and until you you have the ability to have retrospect to understand, like, man, that's what that was, which requires self, like you're working on you. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean, I'm want to be very, very like serious when I say like this ain't a just you thing, but it requires all of the work on your side. You get what I'm saying? Like it's not just gonna happen just because you want to make it happen. There's someone with you. I promise you. That's gonna push you to that next level. But it requires you to do something. You have to get going. Just sitting there and praying will not do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's so embedded in the text that it's like it's blaring to me. It's like I'm staring at a car with its fog lights on. Like it's right there. It says you have to seek and you shall find. Seek the kingdom. Seek. What does seek mean? Seek means to go and look for.
There's work that's being done at that point.
There's intent. Seeking, I am looking for something. If I am seeking to talk to Steve, or I'm seeking to speaking with Coach Wash, there's an intent for me to find a way to communicate with these gentlemen. That is what it means by seeking. If you're not seeking, if you're not studying his word, if you're not listening to sermons, if you're not diving into worship, whatever the case may be, if you are not working in that realm which he is in, how can you expect your prayers to be answered at that door? You're not even there. You're not even nowhere near the Coliseum. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not happening.
Coach Luna, you hit on something else, another topic that I wanted to say for another day. But I think it's important that we talk about this one too. Because you made a comment about walking through the door, but the person that needs to walk through that door ain't ready to be walking through that door. Right? Mm-hmm. It made me think about how many people out there want to be entrepreneurs. And I love that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. I so love that everybody wants to start their own business. I so love that everybody wants to go and do their own thing and grow their own business and, create jobs. Like anybody that knows me know I've been in recruiting for a very long time, and I love hearing people create jobs for other people. Like that's awesome. I think that's just great. But there's so many people that want to be an entrepreneur that haven't learned how to be a worker yet. And it is really hard for some people, I should say. Again, there's the anomalies that are out there, some individuals that didn't work for anybody and just immediately, started their own business and was successful. There's a ton of people out there. I'm not saying that it's an anomaly, right? But I am saying that there's more people that think they're ready and they're not truly ready. You haven't really been in the trenches. You haven't really, really struggled. You haven't really done the actual work. You assume that you've done those things or to the level that you think you need to do them. But there's levels to everything. There's levels to everything. And I've learned that significantly being in management. There's levels to it. I had a supervisor that I talked to pretty frequently who's listening to the show. Shout out Mark. But I had a conversation with him a couple days ago, and he made the comment to me. He's like, I have another person that I'm kind of working with right now on the team, and I'm trying to get her to start figuring out a way to progress herself, start figuring out a way to develop her so she can eventually move into a role like mine. And it's right around review time at this point, and he had made the comment. He was like, you know what I learned most from you and being in this role is that I understand now when someone asks for a raise or someone asks for more time off or they ask for, whatever they may ask for, right? I understand now what they need to have given to get what they're asking for.
Mm.
And he's like, I never really equated that until I got till I made it to a supervisor. And then when I would come to you with problems, meaning referring to me when he was like, I would come to you with a problem and I would tell you like, hey, this is what's happening. And your response sometimes would be, okay, what are you going to do to fix it? And it was like, I didn't know that's something that I needed to own and that's something that I needed to do for myself. So doing that for myself now and actually being able to take charge, put the work in, and actually get the things done made me have a sense of purpose. It made me have a confidence level now that I know I can do these things now. Like I don't have to bring them to you anymore. Like I can do them on my own now, right? And I got that confidence.
You know what that is, Coach? That's humility. And I think the jump off point for self improvement comes with humility to say, I'm not right. I need to get better,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever whichever area it is. If you don't posture yourself in that position to say, I need help, you're literally going to be in 2026 repeating the same mantra and the same stuff that you were repeating in 2025. And we need to get out of this mindset of thinking that January is the perfect jump off point to go ahead and start. It can start January 17th. It can start February 19th. It can start March 3rd. Doesn't matter. When you feel it, do it. Not everybody receives that message. Not everybody receives that inclination. And I've said this before in here, like treat that inclination like an invitation. Like that's a higher, some of these, self-conscious people that love to call, oh, that's your higher self calling for you. Like, okay, well, who's the source for my higher self? Like, let's just keep it a buck. If that is the case, and if there is a higher self me out there, who made him higher than me right now? Right. But another story for another day.
Right.
But that has to come with that level of humility. And the more and more you read these self-help books, I love self-help books, but at the same time, I kind of realize one thing about every single one. They all just copyrights and just different interpretations of what's already written in the Bible. Every single one of them. They're either heavily in Proverbs, or they're heavily in the parables, or they're heavily in Acts, Romans, or Corinthians. They're heavy in a lot of those biblical scriptures. And the beauty of that is that's why I like self-help books at the same time, because if you're reading it, it automatically starts bringing some of those characteristics that you need to realize, oh man, I'm not where I should be, or dang, I could do a little bit more. It helps posture yourself into that position. But again, that's only the jump off point. You're going to plateau at some point. And you're going to realize, like, man, my flesh wants me to go back to doing what I always do. And you're going to like, man, I read David Goggins' book. I read Psycho-Cybernetics. I read Marcus Aurelius. I've read all those books myself too. But when I read them with the Bible, it was just like, oh, bro, y'all just copying this. So this is what it is. Not all this other stuff. The main thing is the main thing. And it has to stay that way. So I'm going to flip the way I do things. I'm going to read this more. And I'm going to just read y'all's interpretations as well to give me a different insight on a lot of different things that I can, that makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, that's just a play on words from this.
Mm-hmm. More times than not, you're 100% right. 1,000% of the time is in the Bible. 1,000% of the time.
Yeah.
It's
Nothing news under the
just
sun.
exactly. It's just how you are interpreting it, and or how you may not be interpreting it. So I think that, again, praying for understanding so that you can fully understand, that you can fully grasp what you're looking for, will clear a lot of that up for you.
Seeking.
That work, right? Take the binoculars out and actually start looking, right? Coach Wash, I want to talk to you on the steps. On the steps to actually reset, to hit that reset button. What are some of the successful steps that you've taken in your journey to hit the reset button for yourself? And what do you feel like has been the least beneficial in any of those steps you've taken?
Going back to the source, starting from day one, I think I'll speak to what I've recently done. Like, as I started to seek more and God started really calling out to me more, late, I can't say last year, the year before at this point, late 23. He's just filling my heart. And at that point, I kept hearing it, and I kept getting messages from his children. And it was just up to me to actually receive and be open and be obedient and actually trust that it was him. That's one thing. Coach Luna always says there's no coincidence. Oh, so you have to take it for face value and trust. From there forward, I've reread the same scriptures from day one over and over. I've had Bible plans rolling simultaneously. I've done the 360. I've had 2 365s rolling at the same time, overlapping each other. So I may be several books into the Bible and started another 365. And with that, it has only increased my knowledge and wisdom, because each time I learned something new. No matter how many times I read the same thing, I'm like, how did I miss this? But it is easy. I mean, you have to live, and it starts to connect. And when you say it's nothing new under the sun, that's so literal, because as you read the Bible, it's like, man, that sounds like this situation in my life. It was just thousands of years ago. But that sounds like the same thing I went through. Dang, I'm really acting like so-and-so. He did the same thing. And it's like, and you learn the lessons from that. And so that's going to bring me to being careful what you wish for and being prepared for the test and recognizing it's a test. You may not see it until after, but you have to stay open. All right. Don't be like Job now. He got his mind right at the end, but he lost sight a little bit as he was going through it. But you gotta remember God's promises through it all, good and the bad. Now, there was one prayer I always used to pray for. And I was like, I never pray for things. I pray for wisdom. Pray for wisdom. I specifically pray for the wisdom of Solomon. I prayed.
You gotta be careful what that mean.
Many years ago, I prayed that prayer. I would pray it all the time. And if you know, once you start reading, if you know what that brings, what that comes with, you have to understand the win is in the loss, referencing Coach Steve at this point. The win is in the loss. The failure has to happen. You don't win until you fail. Matter of fact, this is when you win. Let me break it down for you. We got to go back, because I don't know how education rocking today. I know how I teach my classes, but it's more old school. So when you go through
because
the
you're
test,
almost 40, is that why?
Yeah, I ain't. So when you take a test, right? Normally, your teachers have like a post-test review, right? You get your grade, you get to see what you missed. You get to learn after potentially failing. You may have failed the test, but you learn after the test is over. And hopefully with that review, if you're open and you're not bitter about what just happened, you retain the information that you didn't know that you now know with the teacher's explanation. And that's how we move forward. We go through the process. We seek. We go through what we need to go through to become ready. But we must be prepared for what tests we have to take and understand what that may entail. Because it's usually not pretty.
This is hitting me. This is hitting me like a ton of bricks right now with everything you just said. Sometimes you need to slow down to speed up.
Yep.
And what that requires, like you said, with that after post-test review, you got to run a self-inventory on yourself. And for that to happen, though, you have to give time to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you must be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not being honest with yourself, then what are you measuring against?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What standard are you holding yourself to? Your standard that you once were when you thought you were your best? I guarantee you the standard is way past that. You know, your goal should be every time that you're seeking something, your ceiling should be your new floor. And you should just continue to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I said early in the podcast about the essence and things with like doing New Year's resolutions. You should already have the momentum already built up.
Yeah.
And if you are in tune with the person God is calling you to be, your 2024, your 2025 ain't gonna look too much different. It's just raising the bar in those same characteristics so that you can continuously pushing yourself. But I'm not about to go ahead and try to create Elon Musk satellite. That's not in my, it's not in my wheelhouse. That's not in my deck of cards that God gave me. You know what I'm saying? He's not asking me to go build Noah's Ark. You know what I'm saying? That's not in my deck of cards. Somebody out there might be. What is God asking me to do? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes what God may be asking you to do is a characteristic instead of an actual thing to do. Be this, display this is what I'm asking you to do.
He might have hired you to be a model.
There you go. There you go.
Simply put.
Be the example of what this means.
Yep.
You know, it's funny, guys. I'm looking at, of course, I got some notes for you guys, but I was looking at the 3 biggest challenges that a lot of people have when it comes to starting over. Like I looked up, just starting over. What are some of the biggest challenges that people run into when they're starting over? And the 3 things that popped up were the fear of starting over, just simple fear of just starting over, right? I've built up so much momentum or so much of whatever it may be that I don't want to have to do all of this type of work again, right? Resistance from others. So people questioning your change, right? Why are you doing that? I can tell you wholeheartedly, and I heard this too from somebody else where they made the comment that again, it's sometimes hard to go to church because I feel like everybody in there is perfect, and I'm the only one that feels like I'm out of place, and that's all of us, right? That's every person that's in the church, including the pastor. Like that's all of us because we aren't perfect. So that's the point, right? And then the last one was impatience. True transformation obviously takes time, right?
Coach, it is funny that you saying that. What was the second one? Say that one more time.
Resistance from others. People
Resistance from others.
might question the change that you're making, or why you're making the change, or why you're different now. That's another heavy one.
I've had people ask me, like, bro, what are you training for? And I had this conversation with Charles this past weekend when we were working out. And it finally came to me. I told him straight up, I don't know. And he was like, and I was like, let me embellish that a little bit though. The version of myself of where I'm trying to go, I've never been before. So how can I say I have an idea of like where I'm going? Everything that's been placed on my heart is literally just keep going. So I know the results of who I want to become and who I ultimately can become is within that journey of just keep going. So I have an idea, mental image of what it may look like for a physical image, but that's minuscule. You know what I'm saying? Like, just keep going. And I think some people need to have that type of relentless or carelessness, I guess you could kind of say, in a sense of whatever it is they're trying to pursue. And you know what I kind of think, Coach, that to me that ties into childlike. Because childlike faith is like a dog off a leash. It goes wherever it wants to. It does freely because it's so hell bent. I don't even want to use hell bent on that term, but it's so like keen to whatever it's trying to do. Nothing's gonna stop it. If that child wants to go and pet that dog, it's gonna go pet that dog.
Pet that dog.
It's gonna pet that dog. You get what I'm saying? but that to me, in the essence, is, you know, it coincides with that. Like, just
Absolutely.
go, and then when you go, just keep going. You know, man, it's funny. My homeboy was just talking about this, because it was a passage in the Bible in the Old Testament where, when I want to say it was after Egypt, after, you know, the Israelites get out of Egypt, and it was when God was destroying another city, and he told us specifically, he said, "Do not look back." Right. And
is this when they were creating all of the different
it might have been
different like monuments and sculptures and everything?
It might have been when like the walls of Jericho, it was a little bit after the walls of Jericho go down, but you know, they were leaving. And I want to say it was a Lot, or I cannot remember, but or Seth, one of them, the wife looked back.
It was Lot.
And
it was Lot wife.
There you go. Lot's wife.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
She looked. There you go.
And the angels told him, "Don't look back.
Do not look back." She looked back, and what happened? She turned into stone.
Pillar of salt.
And turned into a pillar of salt. So what that to me is, that was lack of faith on her part.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are Lot's wife with, "Are you sure? Man, but I love going out." Or, I love my friends. I love this. I love going out every week. Okay, what are you truly asking for? You know, and God is so forgiving, such a forgiving God, that at least he don't hang up in your face.
No.
You get what I'm saying?
No.
Like you on this line, he could easily be like, "All right, man, you know, I'm not answering that call no more." It's always available, but the part we don't understand is we're on the side that's the one that's hanging up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Putting them on hold.
Putting them on hold every single time. When are you gonna put yourself? You gotta understand, it's go time. Like, next year ain't guaranteed. Tomorrow ain't guaranteed. So do it now and do it the best of your abilities. Period.
Man, you you gotta stress the urgency. I don't think people would understand the significance of not knowing what your timeline look like.
Mm.
And that phone will get disconnected while you got God on hold
Mm.
before you repented.
Because please embellish on that.
So y'all know how y'all go to funeral services and they say that unfortunately we get this so many times. And I heard another pastor talk, I think it was Philip.
It was Philip.
This false sense of security that everybody's going to heaven. Everybody ain't going to heaven.
And unfortunately, that's scriptural. So
yeah,
I mean, it's biblical. It's in there if you read it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be a cat with 9 lives. Lord knows most of us need way more than 9. But if you get cut off before you repent, dog, you ain't up there. That's for sure, for sure.
You can't acknowledge somebody that is on the fence. It's pretty dark that way.
And some we believe we above the standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're the exception.
Yeah, there's this idea that I'll always have an opportunity to come back around. And you're gonna keep stepping out. You're gonna keep doing the same thing. You're gonna keep saying, and some people use this reset term in the wrong way. You out here maliciously, on purpose. You ain't stumbling. What I told you the other day, Steve, I said a mistake is when you forget to carry the one.
Right.
It ain't planned.
Right.
I wasn't trying to get the wrong answer.
Exactly.
That's a mistake. There's a difference between a stumbling block, and you out here plotting and planning your own demise. And tomorrow ain't promising. You know, while you out here stepping out, doing the same thing, if that line get cut,
That's
it's fine.
It's to your own doing.
It's to your own doing. Now, we got opportunities, but you, as we've been saying the whole time, you have to seek, like, for real. You gotta be this is where the being honest with yourself comes into play. You gotta seek.
Man.
Because if you straddle in the fence, you hell bound. You don't have to pick a side, yes. You don't have to pick a side yet. If God is an option, you hell bound.
Man.
And there's a lot of scriptural evidence for that.
Yeah.
Get away from me, for I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't know you.
If you ain't 10 toes down in his backyard, in front yard, on his premises.
The lukewarm, I'm gonna spit it out of my mouth.
I want to ask this question, and I want people that are listening to this to answer this for themselves. How would you feel if one of your parents that you loved and cared for told you, "Get away from me, I don't know you"?
I'm gonna say she got Alzheimer's.
You better hope. What if you?
But they're just like, what do you mean you don't know me? Like,
what if you now at this age? Yes, you will absolutely say that 100%. But Luna, let's say that you are 9 years old.
I've seen this before in real life. Yeah, keep going with your example.
And your parent told you that. Get away from me. I don't know you.
I would be heartbroken. And that would I would be traumatized from that. Like, what you mean you don't know me? You birthed me.
You know what? And where I see where you go, because that's scriptural. God, that is scriptural. God said, I don't know you. And he's speaking to the sinner. It's in Revelations. It's before Revelations too. He said, I don't know you. And he lists everything and every kind of sinner you may be. And he gonna say he don't know you. But I've seen this example in real life because we made his image, right? I had a cousin who, what my aunt told him, I don't know you. because he had done so much wrong.
Mm.
And her heart was broken. I done everything I could for you. I've sacrificed so much for you. And this is how you repay me.
Became unrecognizable.
Yep. Man. You keep breaking my heart. You keep doing what you're doing. You're not even trying to come around. You're not even acknowledging what I'm doing for you and what I've given to you.
Coach, hold on. You said try. What is the significance of the word try when it comes to repentance? What does that require from the heart? What does that require from the soul when we try?
Change has to take place.
True repentance is asking for forgiveness and changing your behavior.
That last part, Coach. Those last 3 words, changing your behavior. As a man sitting here, I've talked like the past few months with plenty of people. Like, again, they always ask like, what led to the change? I stopped saying I wanted to become these things, and I had to start doing those things. You know, it's a crazy concept in the book that I'm currently reading. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics, but he says psychology and everything, like, scientifically proves that if you can vision yourself as the higher, the best, more improved version of yourself, if you can see yourself there, you will naturally strive. If you he takes it even a step further. If you act that way, you'll naturally become that way because your habits become that. So what does that mean? What are we getting at, Coach? So if I want to become let's just keep it, because we're all husbands. If I want to become a better husband, all right, well, what does that look like? What are the characteristics of a good husband? First, you know what I'm saying? Where do I need to understand what a husband is? I need to read the book. I need to read the Bible. I need to understand where I am in this household. So if I am a protector, I am a leader, I am this, I'm all these things. I am a servant of God. If I am those things, what are the characteristics of that? I need to seek those things. Well, is that type of person going to be spending every weekend at a bar? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Is that type of person going to be getting drunk just one night out of the weekend? Probably not. Is that person going to be, okay, maybe he's not at a bar, maybe not drinking all the time, maybe he's smoking all the time? Probably not. And when you start going down that checklist of things and the habits that you may currently be in, you start understanding, man, I got to cut that. I got to cut that. You got to tend to your garden. You got to tend to the weeds that are trying to choke the life out of you. And it's not easy whatsoever. But there's beauty. There's beauty in being born.
So I'm going to take you guys, and I know we don't do this. I know we don't do this. And there's a reason that we don't do this. We don't talk about relationships.
Everybody's story is different.
Exactly. Everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different way in which they understand relationships. They understand how things should be. And again, I'm using the word should very lightly, because again, your interpretation of should is going to be very different from somebody else's interpretation of should. So that being said,
we're going one way now.
Yes.
We 10 toes down on one side of the fence.
Yes.
So there are principles that should be consistent.
Correct.
If you 10 toes down on
if everybody on the same side of the fence, bro, everything is lining up perfect. if not, then we're gonna have some problems.
For every role that I'm seeking, there's rules and standards.
Everyone.
I'm supposed to be applying.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I know we don't touch necessarily on relationships, but I want to share this because I think this is important, not just for the conversation that we're talking about, but I'll give you guys an example of. I'm sorry, I got an eyelash in my eye right now. It's pissing me off right now. But I think it's important to share this because it not only shows just it gives you a really good example of growth and my personal growth in my own relationship. So anyone that knows me and I'm pretty sure over the course of the couple years that we've been doing this pod, and I'm pretty sure you guys gotten a chance to know me. I'm very positive. I try to be very positive about a lot of things. It's very rare that I'm negative in any connotation. Try to be very positive about a lot of things. Sometimes when it comes to faith, like I've had, don't get me wrong, I'm human just like everybody else. I've wavered in my faith numerous times. But I do also have a very strong faith to the point where it's almost childlike. It's almost like God got me. Dad got me. I'm good. Dad got me. I'm riding a bike. I don't got my training wheels on anymore. Dad said I don't need them anymore. So I'm out here just riding the bike. But I'm running into stuff, I'm falling down and everything. But Dad got me. Always had that kind of feeling. I've always had that feeling. And what I've noticed is that in my relationship, sometimes my wife may not have that same feeling with certain situations. And when she doesn't have that same feeling, instead of being the leader that I need to be, I sometimes get frustrated that she doesn't have that same type of faith, that same type of this is just gonna work out. What I've learned, not just over this past year, but just throughout my entire time of being married to my wife, is what I've learned is that, and it's not just with my relationship with my wife, just people in general, is that sometimes we may be so much in that mindset or whatever mindset it may be, that focused mindset, that we forget sometimes that there are others that may not be at that same mental capacity to accept what you've already accepted. Example, some of our Coach Life family that are listening to the pod right now may hear what we're saying, and there's a bit of conviction there. Where it's like, ugh, I don't like that he said that. I don't like this because that's me. And I don't like it when they're talking about me, making me feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. There may be that level of conviction there for some. But then for others, it may not be there for them because they've gone through that fire already. They've already felt that heat. So it's not as hot as it may be for some, right? So I said all that essentially to say it is really important to understand where everybody is so that you can be that leader that they need you to be. Nobody's going to follow a leader that's not going to be able to understand the rest of the group. If you can't understand, think about it. Think about the last place that you worked that you didn't like, that you left. Think about the last manager you had that you didn't like. What was the reason why you didn't like him or her? More times than not is they really didn't care about you as the person. It's just a job for them. They're not putting the care behind that piece of it, which in turn made you feel cold, made you feel like you're by yourself. So said again, like I said all that to say try to meet people where they are. Try to meet people where they are. Yes, we can all hit that factory reset, but my factory reset may be very different from Coach Luna's factory reset, may be very different from Coach Wash's factory reset, so on and so forth. Try to meet people where they are. That doesn't mean don't push. That doesn't mean don't give them the real, the raw, the gritty. That doesn't mean, don't hit them in the face with the Coach Wash, right? Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you absolutely need that. But sometimes we also need to know how to break those walls down so we can start bringing people closer. So I think that's a harder thing to do for a lot of us. It's like sometimes we like to bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid man and dump all that on you. Sometimes those individuals can't handle that. They can't handle that type of destruction and that type of force. So it's something to be said about, and again, and I'm learning this now as I'm going through my Bible plans, my lesson plans that I have, is that there were times in which you saw Jesus be very, very understanding for situations that he didn't need to be understanding in. And then there was times where you saw a little bit of that rage that needed to happen to get things moving the way that they need to move. So it always, when I look at those stories in the Bible, when I look at how he handles certain situations, it always kind of referred me back to like knowing how to meet people where they are, because it was a reason why there was times in the Bible where Jesus was upset. There's plenty of times in the Bible where you see examples of him being upset, right? May not outwardly say Jesus was upset, but based on the actions and based on his responses, you could tell that he wasn't happy necessarily with what was going on, right? He was displeased. So, but he always knew how to respond. He always knew how to have that conversation and get people to start learning how to reset themselves.
We just finished, was Mark chapter 6?
Yep.
What was the thing that he always said, and at least in these parables, what did he always end it with? He who has ears, let them hear. What does that mean? So the word let means to kind of like, my guard is down, I'm open.
Allow.
Right? Allow. He who has ears, let him hear. You are not going to be able to interpret what God is saying in those parables unless you position yourself in a position to receive it. That's why he loved to speak in parables, and he explains that to his apostles. That's why he spoke the way he did, because those that are seeking are going to be like, well, if I just told you, hey, man, plant this seed and do that, and you're going to end up getting it, you're going to be good. There's no seeking for that. Like, I already given it to you. But if I go ahead and I put it in a way to where it's like a mystery, a person who wants to figure out the answer, let them hear, seek. It requires them to go ahead and have to do something. Mm-hmm. But if it just gave it to them the way it is, like, hey, do this and you're going to get that. God going to respond this way, blah, 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 blah. That's what it was in the Old Testament. And that's why when he established the new covenant, it had everything to do with what? Your heart. Everything has to do with what's coming from here. So when everybody say God knows my heart, yes, he does. Yes, he absolutely does. You might want to be careful with what you mean by that.
They don't even know what that means, because even God said your heart is deceptive.
Bingo.
So how foolish are you to be using that statement and not be studying it out?
Mm-hmm.
You have no clue what you're saying. And you know what's, I don't know, this is a little bit of God's rage. I talked about this before. Remember, I told y'all, I was tucked away when I fell off. The one thing I know is don't play with God. Even though I may have been lukewarm and straddling the fence, to me, you spitting in his face to like throw his name around and play that role and move in all confidence in the other direction. Like that's some serious disrespect.
Someone said this and it hit me, and it goes with what you're saying. It said, live your life as much as you can like Christ, because if you don't, that your your relationship that you end up may be having for someone or with someone may be the thing that introduced them to God or kept them from God.
Yep.
And what damage does that do to you as in your soul if you didn't fulfill your purpose and you didn't help fulfill that person's purpose? Hey, that's why it's so, man, if you can live with four principles: faith, love, humility, and gratitude. If you can live with those four principles and try to do everything with those four principles in your head, I honestly feel that it is impossible to not get closer to God and not have your heart postured in the position to where he can come in and do everything and take you a step further. Because all those things are like umbrellas that over the canopy. Like, here's God, here's the great canopy, and here's these four small umbrellas, and then there's all these other characteristics that go under them. If you could practice those four, and the only way you can continue to practice those is by understanding what those characteristics are. How do I understand what those characteristics are? It's because I read and I see and I hear it, I speak it. And the more I'm reading and I'm speaking it, it's an invitation for him to be like, all right, I'm gonna make you more like me. Well, just keep doing it. And you will, in return, I'm telling you, man, I cannot try to give a scientific answer or a moralistic answer to why all these things of like the things I used to really, really struggle with became like, yeah, no, it's become like almost easy. Just as easy it was to say yes, it's just as easy now to say no. And if I've tried this before, but I tried to do it on my own merit and I tried to do it with my rules. And I tell the kids this all the time: your way sucks. It is what it is. Your way sucks. Do it the way it's supposed to be done. That's it. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't try to make it your own. Don't do that, because every time you did, guess what? You ended up in the same position. You're asking the same things over and over and over and over and over and over. It's not going to change unless you change.
It is. There it is. Resetting is really recognizing that something ain't working and having the courage to start fresh. This is a journey about self-awareness, essentially, about your faith, about having and going towards your purpose. I hope that this pod actually helps some people see that we all are in that same boat. We all are in that same boat of hitting the reset button for ourselves in some way, shape, or form, or fashion. And it's not easy for anybody. It's not supposed to be easy.
Mm-mm.
Because I think Coach Luna, I think you brought this up in our last pod that we had, was when you go to the gym, you're building resistance. That resistance is the opposite force that you are exerting on that weight. That's how you're going to get bigger. That's how you're going to get fit. That's how you're going to get better. That's just part of the process. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, we forget to trust the process.
It's faith.
Coach Luna, close us out, sir.
Oh man. Okay. With the reset, like we've all said, it's about being courageous for taking the step. It's about recognizing that you need to take the step. And, you know, honestly, you got to be a little bit fed up of where you currently where you are. You know, and I don't mean that in a negative way. We cannot look at self-improvement as something like, oh, I'm a POS. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you need to feel that conviction. You know, what you feel isn't concrete. And what I mean by that is feelings change. So if I feel convicted, I can change that. You know, like I said, that's an invitation. That's a poke. That's a prod. Hey, man, get that right. Hey, man, get that area of your life right. And unfortunately, we ignore that so much to the point where it gets to a point where God's like, all right, you don't want to listen? Go to that doctor and see what he say about you then. Go to that doctor and see what he's going to diagnose you with. I tried to tell you these things when you were struggling to walk up the stairs. I tried to tell you when that person came up to you and told you this. I tried to tell you when these things and this thing and that. Oh, no, that's just a coincidence. Nah, man, you know, I'm not ready for that yet. Okay. You're going to continue to go through the same cycles all the time. You know, unfortunately, it's not really unfortunately because it's all in the pursuance of him. It's a design. You prayed for this, but you're stuck on this wheel because you haven't advanced yet. Why would I give you so you can ruin that? You know, there's a benefactor to each thing that you go into. So if I let you go in there, there's someone else that you're going to affect. I don't want that person to be affected. So that's what I mean by, and what it means by, you're not going to be able to go through that door unless you're the right person that shows up to that door. Because there's other people on the side of the door that you are going to affect.
And sometimes that up with everybody.
Bingo. You're not finna bring that over here. You know what I'm saying? And those people that are on the other side of that door, there already are people that are protecting their energy. They are people that are in their Bible. They are people that are like, they're in it. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between forgiveness and a difference between being a dummy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you continuously being like Coach, you say what all the time, Coach Wise? There's a difference between being a fool and being wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. If I'm
foolish or you being wise.
If I'm continuously being foolish, you know, who was it? It was Saul. Saul ended up saying, I lost God's favor. I lost the favor of God. And that ended up getting anointed to David. And David ended up taking over the whole kingdom, right? You can lose favor, but he will never, like you said, Coach, you may have lost it because of your own doing. You know what I'm saying? But the favor is always there. It's not like he just snatched it away. Nah, bro, you decided to keep doing what you was doing and it was time. And unfortunately, that's the nature of everything. And, you know, it's a scary concept because it goes against us having to feel like we going against our nature. Well, that just means our nature is wrong. Our nurturing has been wrong. Our nature is good and how God made us, but our nurturing needs to change back to what it originally needed to be. that factory reset is getting rid of all those things again. And, some people may be able to be real extreme and just drop everything cold turkey. I know some people that are like that. I'm not like that. I had to be a gradual person, like little by little, little by little. But then I also had to be extreme in other areas. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually it's like you start seeing how those concepts coincide and they fall into other areas of your life. I think about it like the chandelier with the glasses. You know, I'm talking about the chandelier glasses where they go ahead and pour at the top, and then that glass leads to that glass, and that's what focusing on those characteristics. That's what happens in those areas. Like it overflows in all areas. That's what he means by test me and see that I'm good.
Right.
That's what he means by that. Like, hey man, just try me out. Hear me out. Follow me. Listen to what I'm telling you. Follow me. I got you. I promise you it's going to be better than whatever thing you could ever think of.
Drop your nets and follow me.
Oh.
I'm going to have you fish for people.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Wash. Close us out, bro.
Look, man. Let me tell y'all something. It's untaught.
You sound more 40 than I do, bro.
It's untaught. Straight up. I mean, the reset is serious. You got to get to a point where you take your own life serious. But understand this: if you're not studying your word, get in your word, and if you have been in your word, oh, it's worse for you to be ignoring it. But the same way that, as Coach Luna said, you're not ready to walk through a certain door because of who you affect on the other side of the door. You got to think about. You got to think about that while you're not through that door to help you move quicker to that door. If you're a parent, you can curse your children. You can produce bad seed. And the crazy part is I've seen this before, like people, they so wrapped up in themselves and their vanity that you don't realize that like it's people I done watch just move and be getting away with stuff. And then I'm like, you not paying attention to how your seeds perceive you and what you are handing down and what may not be happening to you will happen to them. That's in the scripture too. Right? So let's be careful out here. It's way bigger than us. It ain't about us at all. At all. But understand everybody that you love around you. Reap what you sow. Reap what you sow. So if I hope that helps put a little bit of urgency or a sense of urgency in you to hit reset and dive deeper and learn, get around people that are wise. If you're not, and aside from you pray and be patient and get around people that can pour into you. Find some men and women of God that are solid. And if you're being real with yourself, we talk about discernment. I'm like, part of the test is you've been fed while you was out there in the street. So you got discernment. You know what it look like. You know if it's real or it's not. You know who's faking. So you know who to get around and who not to get around. Somebody gonna show you if they ain't really about what they claiming they about. Is there? You be like, oh, you look just like so-and-so. I used to see at the bar all the time. Nah, that ain't real. You gonna see something. So we know the game. When you know the playbook, you know the game.
If you got your binoculars on.
Got the binoculars. We out here, we scouting.
Make sure that we're doing this every week for you guys. So that being said, smack that like and subscribe button if you want to hear more from your Coach Life fam. Until the next time, my fam. See you in the next one.